So when I was growing up, my first TV memories were the Flintstones. In my memory, it was in 1959, but it was actually 1960, September of 1960, when the Flintstones first came on. They did do a pilot episode back in 59, which was to sell the series to the network. It was actually called the Flagstones.
Hiya, Fred.
And what are you made up for?
I'm gonna practice spear fishing.
Oh, you can't lose.
It's available on YouTube if anybody wants to see it. In fact, I just watched that on YouTube the other night. It's different because you have the great Dawes Butler, who did the voice of Yogi Bear, actually did the voice of both Fred and Barney in the episode. If you watch it, you'll hear the difference. There are still like tones of what Alan Reed was going to do with Fred and what Mel Blanc did with Barney. It still had kind of the tone of their voices, but you can tell, once Alan Reed and Mel Blanc took over, that they kind of took the feel of the original Dawes Butler voices and went off in their own direction, and of course made it their own. Now, the original Flintstones unaired pilot, which again you can find on YouTube, it was produced in 1959. It's only 102 seconds long. The series was intended to be called The Flagstones, but the title was changed when the creators of the comic strip Hi and Lois, which was a spin-off of Beetle Bailey, by the way, about a suburban American family named the Flagstones, threatened a possible lawsuit. So they changed the Stone Age family's last name to Flintstone before the actual first episode was produced and went on the air. So the Flintstones ran from 1960 to 1966. It was on for 6 seasons, and it was the first primetime cartoon, and it lasted for 6 full years. It was a great show. It was created and produced by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera, who did a lot of cartoons at the time. I grew up on their cartoons. Huckleberry Hound, Quick Draw McGraw. It was great stuff. Fred Flintstone was voiced by Alan Reed, and Wilma by Gene Vanderpill, and then the great Mel Blanc did Barney Rubble, and Bea Benaderet was the original Betty. If you ever watched Petticoat Junction, you'll know Bea Benaderet was the owner of the Shady Rest Hotel, but she stopped doing the voice in 1964, and it was taken over by Jerry Johnson. So a lot of great people worked on the show, on the Flintstones, and they had quite a few guest stars. At the same time, when they were developing the Flintstones, they weren't sure what they wanted to do with it. They weren't sure what, if they were going to do like a prehistoric. If you go into, I like to use IMDb a lot. There's a lot of good trivia stuff on there for anybody that wants to look some of this stuff up. So if you go onto the Flintstones IMDb page and you go into trivia, it says here that Fred and Wilma Flintstone were the first animated married couple ever shown on American television in the same bed together. They may have been mistaken as the first couple ever shown in bed together on any American TV show, but that title goes to Mary Kay and Johnny, which was in 1947. I mentioned that in another one of my videos. William Hanna also at the time wanted to do a family-style series, but he and Joseph Barbera couldn't agree on the setting or the costuming. Suddenly, Hanna exclaimed, "Let's do it in a caveman setting." They won't wear clothes, they'll just wear animal skins. After that great idea, everything from then on perfectly fell into place. And that was the Flintstones. The Flintstones was great. The first episode, I still remember watching the first episode, Flintstone Flyer, where Fred and Barney invent like a helicopter type thing, of course, powered by Fred's feet.
I just wanted to tell him how to land. If he takes off, that is.
Also, a lot of guest appearances happened on the Flintstones. It was hot at the time. If you remember Batman in '66, a lot of actors were just dying to be on the show. They wanted to be on Batman as a guest star. Well, the Flintstones predated that. they had quite a few guest stars appear in cartoon form back in the day, just like The Simpsons has been doing for the past however long now. Another great fact about the Flintstones was the theme song, which everybody knows, Flintstones meet the Flintstones, right? That's what you always hear. But in the first 2 seasons, they didn't have that theme song. The theme song, Meet the Flintstones, wasn't even introduced until the 3rd season. In the first 2 seasons, they used an instrumental piece of music called Rise and Shine, which is also available on YouTube if you want to hear it. And it's used in quite a few of the episodes as background music as well. It's also very similar to the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner show theme called Overture.